Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Tahiti Nui. The voyage continues. Connecting Tahiti to the world for over 25 years with daily flights from the U.S.
And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody, wherever you happen to be. If this looks like a fake background, you're wrong. I'm coming to you for this global travel update from the atoll of Fakarava. You probably don't know where that is. It's in the Marquesas, but most importantly, it's in part of French Polynesia. We're about 450 kilometers from Tahiti. We're on one of the most amazing lagoons you'll ever see, 60 kilometers long, 21 kilometers wide. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Biosphere Reserve, and for every good reason you can imagine. And what am I doing here? It's part of our next 1 hour special that we're doing on PBS. It's part of our series called Hidden Tahiti. And this is a place you definitely want to come to and want to be in. I'm amazed we even have Wi-Fi, so let's hope for a strong signal for the rest of this program. Of course, always happy to answer your questions, but let's first of all get to the news. And of course, what a great place for me to be during the government shutdown. I'm not trying to rub it in, but remember that started October 1st. And today, of course, is the 27th. Tomorrow is a significant day because that means that's the day that air traffic controllers, TSA agents, and many other federal employees deemed essential will not be getting a paycheck. This is bad news for everybody because the number of sick calls is rising. The number of delays at airports is rising. And this is leading into the holiday period, which is already tracking 2% ahead of travelers that traveled last year, which is a record-breaking year. What kind of numbers are we talking about? 13,000 air traffic controllers. We're talking about 50,000 plus TSA agents, not to mention Customs and Border Protection, even the National Park Service. But in terms of air travel alone, that's a significant hit. And whatever numbers you're getting from the FAA have to be put in perspective because they're going to give you an average, but the average doesn't take into account peak travel times for all of us between 6 and 8 in the morning and 4 and 6 in the afternoon. And it doesn't take into account smaller airports that will have ground holds that won't even allow their planes to leave to get to the connecting airports. It's not a trickle down anymore. It becomes a tumble down. Now, the Trump administration is still trying to find ways to get these people paid. But for the air traffic controllers alone, that's $500 million a month that they've got to find in funding that Congress hasn't authorized. Good luck with that. And one sobering piece of news, the head of the National Air Traffic Controllers Organization, NATCO, basically said yesterday that tomorrow, meaning today, will be less safe than today. And tomorrow and the day after will be less safe than the day before because they cannot handle literally the flow. What does that mean? Forgetting delays, we're going to see ground stops. If a plane can't leave the airport and it's stuck at the gate, that means a plane landing at that airport can't get to the gate. And you're going to have congestion on the tarmac, congestion on the runways, and this is going to happen. It's going to move right from east to west. It'll be in Newark and Miami and then hit Chicago, and the next thing you know, the rest of the country is affected. So whether you're in Laramie, Wyoming, or Los Angeles or Boston, you're going to get hit. And it's going to get exponentially worse every single day. The one interesting piece of news, of course, airfares are dropping. Gee, what a surprise. Both domestically and internationally, with the exception, of course, of that 10-day window around the Thanksgiving holiday period, the Friday before until about the Monday or Tuesday after. But other than that, airfares are dropping. In other news, JetBlue has now given more announcements, and so has United, about their partnership, which really kicks in now and expands through the rest of this year and into next year, especially as it applies to mileage and interchange of mileage programs and reciprocal rights of earning miles and status on each airline. It sounds great, but now let's talk about the bad word that starts with I, inventory. Just because you have miles on JetBlue doesn't mean United Airlines is going to give you a business class seat at a reasonable redemption award or even any redemption award on one of their flights. They've always been traditionally stingy about this. There's no indication that they're going to be any less stingy. The only thing that it means in the short term is that if you have, mosaic status at JetBlue, you may get 1K status at United and vice versa. What does that mean? Let's do the math. If everybody has status, nobody has status. We're still chasing miles we can't redeem and status that does not necessarily turn into upgrades. Sounds good on paper. What it really means is this is the first step, even though neither airline will admit it, to either a merger or an acquisition, because United, more than anything else, wants access to Kennedy. JetBlue did a very smart thing when they started the airline back in, I think, 2002 or 2000. I'm sorry. What did they do? They realized that with the exception of international flight departures, JFK was an underutilized airport, and they got every slot they could find, and that's what launched JetBlue. They did the same thing out in California when they opened up in Long Beach and not LAX. They dominated that market. So United a couple of years ago did something really stupid. They decided they wanted to move everything to Newark, and they pulled out of JFK entirely, and they can't get those slots back. So under this new partnership, they're going to get 5 slots back starting next year, which means they'll have at least 5 flights a day. I'm guessing transcons between San Francisco and LA, but that's not enough. They want more. And this partnership, which could turn into a merger if approved way down the road by the Trump administration, would actually indicate that. So stay tuned. We're going to follow that as it goes along. Southwest Airlines. Remember, they start kicking in with assigned seats in January, but they're definitely going after the premium market. They've actually did something with their assigned seats. They're adding extra legroom. Remember, JetBlue did that from day one before they even went to Mint, just in the back of the plane. So Southwest is going after that. They're even installing Wi-Fi. Is it as fast as other airlines? No, but it will be free. So that's at least some progress. Again, watch out for January, because that's when that all kicks in terms of assigned seating on Southwest. Now, moving along, and this is an important development. The California legislature has just passed a law banning AI pricing, we understand what that means in terms of the airlines, but they've banned it in terms of hotels. As you know, no state legislature can ban anything with airlines. It's a preemption caused by the Deregulation Act of 1978, so the airlines can't be touched by state legislatures. How many times have we reported stories whether the New York legislature or the Illinois legislature or the California legislature passed an airline passenger bill of rights only to have the airlines go to federal court and get it thrown out because there's no jurisdiction, right? The airlines are preempted there from any sort of other jurisdiction. So, but it doesn't preclude hotels. And that's what this bill does in California. It precludes hotels from doing what they call personalized pricing, using algorithms to determine what your pain point is in terms of what you want to pay, what you'd be willing to pay, or what you would painfully pay. Let's see how that works out. Now, one little note, we're going to cover all the bases today, including rail travel. I'm a huge fan of Brightline in Florida. As you know, they're trying to do a similar route out in California between the West Coast and Las Vegas. But in Florida, you have Brightline going between Orlando and West Palm and Fort Lauderdale, Miami, all those little routes. And it's done a great job. However, we could put in quotes, Florida man leads the headlines here because since they started in 2017, they've killed 185 people on the tracks. Now, 137 of them were determined to be intentional acts of suicide by people. What about the other 148? They got hit by the train. This is a high-speed train. The railroad crossings are not always secure, and that's a pretty stiff price to pay for a rail line in Florida. Although I do love Brightline, but for everybody else, 185 people killed since 2017. Let's scroll down and say hello to some folks here. Hold on a second. Here we go. Linda, hi, Bulls. Jim and Harriet coming in number 2. They're still in. Oh, my goodness, the Cape Verde Islands. We love that. Paul is saying greetings from Ashland, Virginia. Lorena Jenkins always checking in from sunny Lansing, Michigan. A note about my Wisconsin Badgers. We really suck. We can't win a game. We're going to go winless for the rest of the year. That's my prediction. All right. We're going to go 2-10. Go Badgers. We lost 2 shutouts in a row, one to Iowa, one to Ohio State. That wasn't a shutout. We had Iowa and one other. Then we had this weekend in Oregon, where we lost decisively as well. So not our best season and not something we're proud to discuss. You'll still find me at the games, but a lot of us start drinking early. All right. Melanie's saying hi from sunny Miami. Oh, yes, hoping for Jamaica and all on the path of that hurricane, which is now between a Category 4 and a Category 5. If you take a look at weather patterns around the world, here's what you're finding. Tahiti, where I am right now, has been spared for basically a few hundred years from those weather patterns and global warming. They don't have the kind of huge storms that seem to hit the Caribbean not once every 10 years or once every 15 years, once every 3. And so how many times, go back and Google this, have you seen reports coming out of Haiti, Jamaica, Puerto Rico about hurricane storms that are battering those islands? And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. So yes, thoughts and prayers for all of our friends in Jamaica as they basically brace for another Category 5 hurricane. Thank you for mentioning that, Melanie. I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Robert Watson, our good friend. Okay. Happy to say, Robert Watson, by the way, one of the great concierges in the hotel business of all time. He's based in Washington, D.C. He said, happy to say, regardless of the shutdown, there's plenty of venues for visitors to go to D.C. See your concierge for advice. Self-serving promotion there, Robert, but I appreciate that. Yes, visitation in Washington, obviously down, but that's got less to do necessarily with the government shutdown than, troops on the streets. Not a good picture, not a good visual. All right. How deep is the Fakarava Lagoon versus the depth of the oceanside waters? Is there sea life from Colleen? Is there sea life of any kind in the lagoon? What is the visibility when you dive on the ocean sign? Love the color of your shirt. Yes, it was all pre-planned. Okay, Colleen, the answer is the lagoon is amazing here because you're an ankle to below knee depth water for way out there, right? But while you're walking out there, guess what? You got fish swimming all around you. It's sea life everywhere. And the diving here is world class. Not far from where I am is for if you're a diver, you know what I'm talking about, the shark wall, and well worth the visit. So this is a true, for most Americans, hidden gem. Most people know of Tahiti for the Society Islands. Tahiti, Papeete, Bora Bora, Moorea, Raiatea, Huahine, and Taha. But where we are, that's the special treat. That's why we're doing the show called Hidden Tahiti. Okay, Sandy saying hi from Charlotte. Joyce saying, if you're on vacation stranded in Jamaica because of the hurricane and you have insurance, who pays for those extra days that you may have to stay at the resorts? Well, what kind of insurance do you have? Do you have trip cancellation and interruption insurance? Does it cover weather? Every policy is different. Yes, here's what happens. And the insurance policies are very specific in their language. You know when they start paying? Not when it's windy, not when it's rainy, but 2 things. When a storm is officially named as a hurricane, and 2, if the airport shuts down. If the airport's still operating, then their argument is you can leave. So read the policy language carefully. All right. Paul wants to know, have I heard about the Google Gemini AI chatbot for flights, hotels, and vacation deals? I haven't, but we're going to check into it. Look, I'm a big fan of the idea, hear me out, of the idea of AI, right? I would love AI to paint my house. I would love AI to wash my car. But if I have a very simple itinerary, I want to go from New York to Chicago, I think AI can give me the choices. I'd have to verify them, but at least I'll get some fast answers. If I have a complicated itinerary, I don't want AI going anywhere near me, right? It doesn't know the questions to ask. It doesn't really know enough about me yet. And if it does know enough about me, I don't want them to go anywhere near me either, because they're going to start tailoring something for what they think I can afford, not for what I really want to do. Remember, I understand It's inevitable. I understand it's taking over our lives. I understand that AI may reduce our environment to a 2-day work week. But in the meantime, you know what? I never lose sight and I never lose the grasp that I want to have on the concept of what? A conversation with a real human being who has experience in the area that I want to go to or in the area that I already happen to be in, right? So there you go. But I will check that out, Paul. I appreciate that. Lorena says, you could smell the couches burning after the Michigan State University of Missouri game. Okay. Okay. Paul says, I can't think of a high-speed rail line in Europe that has highway-grade crossings. No need to worry about the collisions there. As I said, Florida, man. I think you have a point, Paul. Christian says, can you talk about how international travel will be affected by lack of workers? Will this mean other countries will be significantly delayed? They will. I have not been on an international flight since October 1st that wasn't delayed on the ground in that foreign country because ATC would not release that into the airspace because they couldn't handle the load. Now, early on in October, they did release them and the delays weren't so bad. But now on a lot of international flights, it's not unusual to be an hour and a half late departing on certain routes, especially over the North Atlantic because it's already so congested. Okay. Christian, thank you for your prayers for the folks in the Caribbean. It is tough weather. Okay, Camilla is saying hi from Tucson. Camilla says, yes, the Fakarava Lagoon is incredible. Then you know. Okay. Sandy's saying, I have 300,000 chase points plus 52,000 miles on United. Do you think it will get us a round-trip business flight to Delhi, India, since they are so devalued? I want to burn them all. Well, you've already answered your question. Because they're so devalued and you want a business class flight for 300,000 chase points, I'm not so sure you're going to get it. If you look at the actual mileage redemption equivalency in terms of cash, I think 300,000 chase points gets you about $3,000, I think. It usually tends to be 1%. So I don't know of any business class tickets on United for $3,000, but worth a try to ask. And the 52,000 miles, hey, that's going to get you to Cleveland. All right. Greetings from the city by the bay. Hello, Patrick. All right. Let me talk about a few more things while we have a chance. One is, of course, if you're paying attention, you know that our show Hidden Alabama is already on the air, part of our Hidden series with my very special tour guide, Martin Luther King III. So check PBS as well as your listings on Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, and YouTube. And what's premiering in just a couple of days? Take a look at the teaser, Hidden Malta. Coming soon on PBS, Hidden Malta, where the old ways of life endure. Oh, over there, okay. Jesmark practices net fishing, a combination of skill, hope, and luck, and almost a football field's worth of net. And pulling it all back in is no easy task.
When you're net fishing, it doesn't start in the morning, it starts in the evening. When you go set your net in the morning, you go to haul your net.
Hey, all right. All right, we got one. You've been doing this in your family?
Yes, my father started off right after his father left off. Then obviously I joined in. So
you're hooked?
Yes. It's not just a job, it's a passion, it's your life.
Just part of what you'll see on Hidden Malta. Yes, check those local listings. I always like to share with you my funny video of the week. I will caption this before you see it. Name all the reasons why this passenger will not be boarding the plane. Roll the video.
I've been drinking. I get filthy when that liquor get it to me. I've been thinking. Why can't I keep my fingers off it, baby? I want you now.
Okay. Can you name the airport? See how smart you are. Run the video again. See if you can name the airport. Can we do it?
I've been drinking. I get filthy when that liquor get it to me. I've been thinking. Why can't I keep my fingers off it, baby? I want you
Okay. I'll tell you next week, see who gets it right. But if you ask me now, if you come online now and tell me what you think, I'll tell you if you're right. Speaking of drunk, and you know how I feel, it's a very simple solution to this problem. Airport retailers who serve alcohol have to abide by a rule that I'm suggesting, that no passenger can be served alcohol inside of the 45 minutes of the time showed on their boarding pass. We're not talking about passengers getting on the plane and getting drunk. We're talking about passengers already drunk before they board. I mean, come on, guys. It's a no-brainer. It's like the NFL fourth quarter rule. But speaking of drunk, you're going to love this, and I'll share it with you. And that is, we had a story a couple of weeks ago about a Japan Airlines pilot who was so drunk he couldn't even stand up in the cockpit so they could take him off the plane. As a result, the CEO of Japan Airlines apologized profusely and took a 30% pay cut. Now Japan Airlines is now doing stricter pilot liver checks following a string of alcohol-related incidents. Banzai! Okay, now, one more thought here. If you wanted to see some interesting statistics about not the government shutdown, but about Americans' travel habits in general, more Americans now are literally leaving the U.S. They're moving out. The number of passport applications from Americans hoping to get an Irish passport has tripled. We're seeing this happening in Portugal. We're seeing this happening in Barbados. We're seeing this happen in Spain. We're seeing it happen in Italy, where there's an incentive for Americans to take derelict homes and restore them, and they're going to sell you the homes for as little as $2. I'm not making that up. And last but not least, of course, Malta. Part of we learned that when we were shooting the show in Malta, that they're making it very, very attractive for Americans to move there. So things you should know about. More American expatriates right now than ever before as a percentage of population in our history. All right. Now, let's go. Oh, here's a question, excuse me, from Jim and Harriet. What do I prefer, Airbus or Boeing? Well, not much of a choice because there used to be a lot of other manufacturers, but it depends on the airplane type and the size of the plane. I still love the A380. That's Airbus. I really love and have always loved the Queen of the Skies, the 747, Boeing. But right now, you got to give it up for the A321 XLR. That's a really great plane. American, by the way, is getting deliveries of theirs next month, and they start flying them on the transcons in December. I love that. The Boeing 737 MAX is now a good airplane, but the problem is they've crammed so many seats into it, you need orthopedic surgery just to get off the plane. So if you're asking me about comfort or safety, speed or style, 4 different answers. All right. Hello, Lena from Fort Lauderdale. Lena, I see you're guessing to see which airport it is. Trevor says he thinks it's Baltimore. Tayo thinks it's Baltimore or Dallas Love Field. All right. Lena, you win. The drunken passenger falling on the floor was falling on the floor of FLL, Fort Lauderdale. All right. Thank you all for your guesses on that. Hey, now it's time to go. Are you ready? To the photo of the week. It's all about the light. Hello to Liz Neisterling. I think I got her name right. Liz, thank you for sending this in. And she wrote this basically coming down the Royal Road where? Come on, folks. Where's the Royal Road? No, it's not in London. It's in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And what a beautiful time of the day. And nicely done. Every photographer will tell you their luckiest shots were when they were smart enough to wait for the light. And Liz, congratulations. If you think you got a photograph that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know exactly what to do. Just email us to photocontest@petergreenberg.com, and we will get it right up on the screen to be right there next to Liz. Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to be tracking the government shutdown. We're going to be coming back on the air with you next week for another global travel update, not from Tahiti, but from another island location. So see if you can figure it out. It will not be the Caribbean. Okay, you can narrow the choice or narrow the scope. But in the meantime, We're going to monitor the airfare situation, obviously monitoring the government shutdown. You can almost guarantee that if this continues, there will be more delays and cancellations. The basic math is where it is. You cannot escape it. And keep in mind, there's some long-term effects here as well. The FAA didn't just run out of money to pay the air traffic controllers. They ran out of money to operate their academy that's supposedly training 2,000 hires to become air traffic controllers. And you know what? A lot of those controllers are starting to bail the program because what does this shutdown say for recruiting, right? I mean, look, I'll give you the football analogy. The University of Wisconsin, you know what their recruiting program looks like now based on their scores this year, right? I mean, not good, right? Who wants to join a losing team? Well, what's the job security if you can't have job security in a crucial role that's deemed essential? It makes absolutely no sense. And by the way, this is not about Republicans blaming the Democrats for the shutdown or Democrats blaming Republicans. It's not a blue state or a red state issue. It's air safety. Remember, if a plane somehow terribly, tragically crashes, you're going to kill both Republicans and Democrats, probably even a few independents. If a plane's delayed, you're pissing all of those folks off as well. So we have to find some common ground here, regardless of any of your political issues or your stances. This involves our safety, it involves our economy, and our ability and our freedom to fly. So let's hope they finally work that out, because as we get closer and closer to Thanksgiving, the word turkey looms large, if you know what I mean. Have a great rest of the week, folks. We'll talk to you very, very soon from another distant remote location, truly about 8,000 to 10,000 miles away from here, if I tell you how we got there. And I will when we join you again for another global travel update next week. I want to thank Anthony Protis for traveling all the way to Fakarava. He does not get hazard pay for any of this, but I thank him anyway. And we'll see you guys in a couple of days. Bye, everybody.